there. All right. We are live on the main page right now. Let me go ahead and dive over to Instagram and make sure we're live over there as well before we get the show started. I hope everybody is having a beautiful day. And I did get a notification via Instagram that there may be issues with their live support. So we may or may not. Oh, you know what? It's working. Look at that. Nice. All right. We are officially live on Instagram and we are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. Holy smokes. We are live all over the board. This is a beautiful thing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing episode of People Helping People. And I am really, really excited to announce that not only do we have a new intro song, which we played the last episode, but we've got a new intro aesthetic, and it's really fun. Big shout out to my little sis, Victoria. I love you. She put this together for us. And let's go ahead and get it fired up here. Give me just a sec. All right. Here's the new intro. Let's go. Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.
Oh my gosh, it's people helping people!
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was really fun to make. We're getting so many copyright claims from this little soundboard that I have over here. And even using the clap track. So we're going to make our own applause track too. But we had a blast putting that together. And I just want to take a moment to thank everybody that's been tuning into the show. You know, the support has been snowballing, everybody reaching out, either wanting to be involved or you know, wants to support in one way or another. And I find myself coming up short on how people can support. How do you guys want to support the show? What would be best? Should we put out some merchandise? I'd like some ideas. So I'm kind of opening this up to the audience and know how you'd like to support People Helping People. But for right now, the best thing that I can ask is that you go to the Instagram page, Instagram.com/People Helping People Live, or YouTube.com/@ People Helping People Live. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to monetize over there. Go ahead and follow the Instagram. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody for the amount of support and love that we've had. And we are on day 3. We're doing a 30 by 30. We are on day 3, 30 days of 30 live shows. We have incredible guests lined up for you guys. Tons of wisdom, business owners, artists, musicians, and we're going to showcase anything and everything to make sure that you guys are getting some value out of this show. So I am really excited to be doing that. But first, let's have a nice sip of Joe. Delicious. That one was for you, Pops. He used to run a radio show, and he'd do that every morning. I remember listening to his radio show, and he'd have his morning sip of coffee. So without further ado, tonight, we have an amazing guest with us. He is a man that wears many hats, and he's seen a lot of life. He's the guy that's got a story for everything. He can relate to everyone. He's so well spoken and well read, and just somebody that you want to aspire to be like. And I am no different. And I am really excited to welcome back to the show. He has become a People Helping People regular because of the love and passion and wisdom that he shares with our audience. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeffery Van De Veere. There he is. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for the applause. Yeah, thank you, Alex, and thank you for the applause and the introduction. And speaking of eloquence, my friend, you are a bar to reach. I appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you for
And
saying that.
your experiences, your skills that you've taught yourself. I mean, taught yourself how many instruments?
Quite a few,
I
yeah.
don't know, piano, guitar. I mean, it goes on and on and on, right?
Yeah.
But we got a little timeout circle there, buddy.
Yeah. So I think,
Gonna
are
pop
you
right
on
back
the
on,
are you on
I'm
the
sure.
Wi-Fi network there at home?
Let's see if. Oh, pop back on. Okay, you had a little. You had a
Yeah.
little.
Yeah, I think
Buzzer,
the
so-
connection, Jeff, can you hear me?
Yes.
There's definitely a connection issue. So I think that maybe if we can ensure that you're on Wi-Fi at the house. Do you know if you're on Wi-Fi currently?
Oh, that is a good question. I'm going
Okay.
to my screen up here for a second,
Okay.
and
We can go ahead and take a moment. I'll give you a second to breathe here and get through that. And I'm just going to talk to the audience for a moment. You can shoot me a text and let me know when you're ready, and then we can pop you back in. Yeah, just make sure you're on the home Wi-Fi there. All right, a little bit of technical difficulties. You know, I had my ma on the show a couple of days ago, and she is such an inspiring, incredible person. She took this, gosh, she's done so many things, but recently she took this idea that she had. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Metropolis. Go listen to the show because she breaks down how she had an idea to take a movie that originally was written and filmed in the 1920s and then remade in the 80s, and she made it a live theater play. Really incredible story, the trials and tribulations and everything that she had to go through in order to make this show work. And so it was an incredible, inspiring story. And, you know, maybe we got it. Hold on. Again, we are live. So let's see if we get him back on here now that he's on Wi-Fi. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. Hey, you are looking crispy clear. Welcome back to the show.
You want a fan on you or anything?
Can you hear me?
thanks.
Can you hear me, Uncle Jeff? Can you hear me? Hello.
I'm still spinning.
Okay. All right. Let me mute this real quick while he figures it out. So again, you know, some technical difficulties, but that's totally okay. Let me see if we can get him on the line. Jeff, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Yeah, you're looking crispy too.
Leave it to me. I have technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Let me get my flip phone here, and I'll try to dial that up.
Oh, that's okay. And you know, you're in a familiar location.
Oh yes, very familiar.
Yeah. That's my parents' home in Oregon, and Jeff is visiting my family right now. And that couch has seen many a butts over the years.
Yeah, they wrote a song about it.
Right. Well, welcome to the show again. You know,
Thank you.
not only just popped up on a whim, and I really appreciate you. You know, I sent out the text, you put on your cape, and here you are. I really appreciate you for that. But you know,
my friend.
yeah, and every time that you come on the show, you bring light to things that I think a lot of people have going on in their lives, good, bad, and indifferent. And you shed such a different perspective on these types of situations that, again, maybe people are struggling with. And, you know, I kind of gave you the reins. I contacted you. I put up the bat signal, and I said, you know, just come give me a topic. Let's talk to the people. Let's bring them a little bit of love and some wisdom and knowledge from the man himself, who has seen so much and done so much. So I'm going to give you the floor. First of all, for people that don't know you, introduce yourself, and then we'll dive into our topic.
Hi guys, I'm Jeffery Van De Veere, and I am Alexander's uncle.
The best.
And I'm extremely proud of that. I'm not so sure where he stands with that, but that's a
It's mutual.
appreciation. Yeah. But yeah, my perspective might be a little different than others because it's about 75 years old. So
Mm, yes.
I've had some time to develop it and edit it, reestablish it,
Yeah.
flip the page a few times. And most of what I've learned through mistakes.
Mm,
We fail our way to the top. And if you're not doing that, then you're just not opening enough doors and trying on enough hats and
mm,
taking enough chances and ponying up the courage to go about stretching yourself. And when you stretch yourself, you're gonna fail, and
mm.
that's okay. Nobody succeeded at anything great immediately out of the gates. It just
Right.
doesn't happen.
Right.
So look at failing as just a building block toward your goal.
Mm,
And my goal for the last couple of decades has really been based on self improvement. And there's a lot of room for me there, so it's a nice field to play in.
we're all in the same boat. Don't you
Yeah,
worry.
yeah, oh yeah. And so what I ran into along the way was another bit of a download about ego itself.
Mm,
And ego is a very powerful motivator. It's also very sophomoric and childish. I think I was smarter somehow when I was young, had a clearer mind or whatever, but sometime during high school, maybe early college, this thought came to mind uh, that it's an analogy. Ego is like a balloon. The
mm,
bigger it gets, the thinner the skin. And if you've noticed people with gigantic egos, they are easily offended, aren't they? You come against them with something contrary to their belief, their preconceived ideas, their disempowering beliefs, and boy, they're easily offended. That
mm,
balloon is going to burst quickly. On the other hand, if they are self assured, confident, have a good self image, they're anxious to hear another position, another concept, idea, because they have learned that on the threshold of wisdom, they have exchanged ego for curiosity.
mm.
Because at some point, we realize that we really don't know much about anything. And we
Truly.
certainly don't know everything about anything. Even the foremost expert on the planet on a particular subject has more questions about it.
Yeah.
And as long as you keep questioning, you won't let that ego get in the way. Now let's talk about personalities and egos. How many of us really enjoy being around somebody with a giant ego that just wants to talk about themselves and they're narcissistic and they won't listen to any other opinion and they interrupt and all that? Anybody? Show of hands. You,
Yeah.
you like that?
It's
You like that
crickets.
kind of person? Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's crickets. So when we are people helping people, we pass on that concept that when you are secure, when you're comfortable in your own skin, you don't have to be heard. You don't need the accolades. You don't need the attaboys. Yes, indeed, those things are nice. They're lovely. We enjoy them, but we don't need them.
Mm,
We don't have to have that to survive or to support whatever opinions we have about a particular subject. We want instead to be properly informed, completely informed, much like a good inspector or a detective. They want all of the facts so they can make a wise decision.
mm,
So the greater number of facts, the greater information we can gather, the larger our wisdom gets within that as we remain curious.
Mhm.
And when we explode that ego, the horizon just broadens. Now, you're going to say, okay, well, how in the world do I go about doing that? Well, this is where the rubber meets the road right here. I'm going to give you some how to's. I never do any of this without some tools. So if you're taking notes, which I hope you are, first of all, I want you to write down that the threshold of wisdom is where we replace ego with curiosity. Okay, now let's get curious, shall we? For instance, the best way to get curious is to ask yourself provocative questions. And you do
Internally.
it internally.
Mm.
Or extra, you can actually say it out loud if you're by yourself and you know trying to figure stuff out. You say, for instance, how can I be even better at sales? How can I be even better at promoting myself? How can I be even better at understanding and appreciating? How can I be even better? Who do I know who can help me along that journey? Now, the even better, I'm going to emphasize that because that implies that you're already doing it. Okay, how can I be even better at subduing my ego and improving my curiosity? And when you ask yourself that question, your subconscious mind goes on the quest to answer it.
Mm.
Okay, does that make sense? The
Absolutely.
subconscious mind is like a computer, as we talked about on a previous podcast. It's going to go on the quest to answer that question.
Mhm.
How can I even better improve my curiosity while diminishing my ego?
Mm.
Well, formulate more questions that you can ask of people. Literally sit down and write questions out to which you would like the answer and ask someone.
Now,
For
how would somebody define or see an ego within themselves about a specific topic?
when you find yourself defending a position about which you know very little, or perhaps you know a great deal about, but there are still a lot more questions. When
Mm.
you're defending your position, you are like a child saying, no, 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 I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't want that broccoli. And because you've made a decision that that's going to be better for you, whatever. It's childish. It's just irresponsible. So, yes, how you go about doing that, that's the question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if somebody was to identify within themselves that maybe it is ego versus confidence or knowledge that's getting in the way of them being curious, how to identify and differentiate between those things and say, you know what, this is the ego speaking. Let me ask some more questions in order to mitigate that.
Beautifully asked. Yes. When you find yourself thinking over the other narrative,
Mm.
you're in your ego
Some
because you're doing
applause.
one of two things. Yeah. Because you are always doing one of two things. It's very simple. You're thinking about how you're going to respond, which is a very subjective uh, and primitive way of thinking. You're thinking about how you're going to prove the other guy wrong and yourself right,
Mm.
and you're looking for things that support your own predisposed position regarding it.
Yes.
So you're thinking about that instead of putting up a white sheet of paper in your mind. Just blank it out like you're meditating. Just go to your breath and listen. One thing that I do when I'm with someone is I look into their eyes for my own reflection.
Ooh.
Concentrate on that and concentrate on the audio And when my mind starts to wander, I say, okay, shut up. I appreciate the thought, but just take a back seat.
Acknowledge
Hold
it,
on a minute.
but
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah. Acknowledge it, dismiss it.
Yeah.
So that's one of the first and easiest ways to know that you're in your ego, because ego is self, it's your concept of self.
Hmm.
And the other thing is when someone comes with a concept or idea that is opposed to yours, instead of arguing it or trying to prove them wrong or trying to support your own position on it, that's interesting. I've never looked at it that way. I'm curious. How so?
Hmm.
Ask a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask too. That makes me think. Like, do you have how so is a great question. Why is a great question. But do you have a few questions that are go-tos for you to open up something that may help to suppress the ego and expand your mind more?
Yeah, absolutely. You talking about questions I would ask myself or another?
Yeah, say in conversation when you're because starting people helping people. I'm sitting down with individuals and we're having conversations and I'm doing my best to listen to little nuggets where I can bring that back and wrap it. I mean, it's really an art form to have an open conversation and really open somebody up to where you're figuring out the purpose and the reasons and the whys. But I don't know if there's something in conversation that, you can ask someone that immediately helps diminish the ego and opens up the realm of being able to learn and grasp new thoughts and new knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. The very first thing that we want to do, again, when we replace ego with curiosity, we replace the word no with the word yes.
Hmm.
Even when the person is totally disagreeing with you and you totally disagree and you're going to inject something that is contrary to what they've said, you say, yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Now you've got their attention because you've agreed with them. And you can say anything you want because they now begin to listen to your support of their position.
Hmm. Though it might be contrary to what they're saying.
Precisely. And when they are open to listening and they hear something contrary, they already have this preconceived idea that you are supporting their position. And their subconscious says, that's true.
Mm.
So you do that with yourself as well. You say, okay, what I'm hearing is contrary to that which I have believed in the past or thought or decided. Therefore, I will listen even more closely.
Mm.
And when you, again, to answer your question about the questions you ask, read between the lines, listen so closely that you don't necessarily hear the words. It's like listening to a record on vinyl.
Yeah.
It's the innuendo between the notes, the silent parts, the body language. When you're truly listening, you're watching the body language. You're looking into their eyes. You see that glimmer. You see a little twitch of a smile, or you see a little touch of anger, and you say, I'm thinking that you are contemplating something beyond that which you're saying. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Interesting.
I asked a waitress one time. She was obviously, excuse me, super bright, fairly bubbly when she'd go to the table, but then her countenance would turn. And I could see her thinking deeply about something. And she came to the table and I said, I can't help noticing what a deep and thoughtful person you are. There is much more to you than most people would recognize.
Wow.
You are a very powerful and deep thinking and feeling person. And I just wanted to acknowledge that with you and let you know that somebody recognizes that.
Wow. What a compliment.
It's an observation.
Yeah, it's beautiful though.
And
Really,
it's a
thank you for that.
true observation. You can't compliment somebody on something that's fake or superficial. I hate superficial. Like, oh, a buddy of mine used to say, "Hey, who does your eyebrows?" That's a great line. Because
Um,
they're always complimenting something else.
yeah.
But
That's
it was a pretty good conversation opener. But when we look between the lines, when we read between the lines, and present an observation or a question based on that which we see behind the veil, behind the verbiage, eyes being the windows to the soul. If you look deeply into the eyes, you will discover something about that person that is deeply meritorious. And every single one of us has a story. We have deep thoughts, we have deep emotions, we have exhilarating moments in our lives and terrifying moments, and moments when we are so deeply sad and can't even imagine why.
Mm.
And those things are stuck within us. I've said before on another podcast, and it bears repeating, if you treat everyone as if their heart is breaking, you're going to be right 90% of the time.
I love that. I hope everybody takes that with them, because that is a beautiful sentiment, and it's so true. It is so true. Everybody in the world has a lot on their plate in one way or another, and they deserve that grace. They deserve that love. And if you approach with that mindset, it's really a beautiful thing. And yeah, thank you for sharing that, because again, I hope that people take that to heart and practice, because that is a skill to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to ask too, while we're on the topic of suppressing, I don't want to say necessarily suppressing the ego, but when you're notified mentally that this is your ego speaking, and to ask the questions, to be curious in order to let the ego somewhat take a back seat, or to help yourself internally combat the ego.
Mm-hmm.
Are there moments in your life that you can share where you felt your ego climbing and the curiosity fading? And did it take, is there a good example of that where maybe there was a success in the end, or the ego ended up winning, or whatever it was? But is there something that comes to mind when I ask that?
Oh, you got about a month? uh, right off the bat, there was one time in particular when I was married to this delightful lady, Jill. I was selling vacuum cleaners door to door. I sold Electrolux door to door. We would knock on we had cold calling.
I
Knock on
did the
the
same
door.
thing with Kirby's, and holy shit, is that a hard gig?
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's trial by fire, isn't it? I mean,
Really
you learn
is.
so much about human character, about yourself.
Yeah.
It's massive. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm on the leaderboard several times, and I'm out in Long Beach selling door to door. And Jill wanted to start selling, and she's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
So she went and took the training. She's got her gear in her trunk, and she popped the trunk, and suddenly I felt this overwhelming anxiety, this jealousy
Mm.
that raged in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally could not control the verbiage that was coming out of my mouth. Literally could not control it. And I went, oh, really? And I had to physically stop talking, turn and walk away, because I was really embarrassing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought in that moment, wow, Jeff, you haven't felt jealousy or that kind of anxiety maybe ever in your life. What was that?
Yeah.
What was that? And so I gave it some thought. I recognized it. First of all, you recognize it. You go, okay, this is my ego speaking.
Yeah.
Who would I be? How would I be performing if I were somebody you admire? I want everybody right here and now to have an avatar. Pick out an avatar, somebody who you truly admire. Maybe somebody in history, maybe somebody in your life, someone who the the bar is set so high that you feel like you want to emulate a hero, if you will.
Mm.
Put that person on stage and superimpose yourself onto and into that person and become that person and see how that feels with that stature, with that confidence,
Mm.
with that ability to shut up
Yeah.
and to shut off the mind and become curious. Because
Mm.
when you're curious, you come up with the right questions and you don't overthink it because you want to know the answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Truly.
So first recognize that it's the ego. Okay,
Mhm.
is this a preconceived idea? Is this something that I've been taught and therefore believe? Is this something I've heard 5 times and therefore it has become the truth? Or is there
Yeah.
something else behind it? And if there is, do I want to listen? Sometimes you don't want to listen. None
Mhm.
is as blind as he who will not see.
Yeah.
And that's an option.
Yeah.
Don't confuse me with the facts my mind's made up.
Yeah. So in that moment, you feel this internal, it's a conflicting point of view because you were bringing her into this, and then you saw that, she is really sharp. She might be coming for my title or whatever it was. This ego was getting blown out of proportion. You recognized it was the ego, and then you asked why. Now,
Yeah.
did you ever boil that down to what it was? Was it your natural competitive nature that just kind of overcame who you know to be and got blown out of proportion? Or what did the curiosity boil down to?
Good question. So you're doing precisely what we're talking about right here.
Thank you. I'm
And
doing my best.
yeah, no, you're doing great. Your best is awesome. So yes, it's many layered. And what I got to on the first layer was I'm the man of the house. Now, understand this is coming from a time, you know, 50 years ago now,
Yeah.
where the man was the breadwinner. Okay, and I
Yeah.
don't mean that to be chauvinistic or whatever. It's just what it was, and that was our position. That was the role that we took and accepted and felt responsible for. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking to myself, she's going to start outselling me,
Yeah.
and that's not going to be comfortable for me.
Sure.
So the concept of that discomfort, because my own ego was not able to handle that, caused me to become anxious and therefore jealous. And
Mm.
jealousy begins to look like anger
Yeah.
because anger is a product of frustration. Frustration is a product of being out of control of your circumstances.
Ooh, well said. Can you say that again, please?
Yeah, anger is the product of frustration.
Mm.
Frustration is the product of being out of control of your circumstances.
Mm.
When you're in control, how can you be frustrated?
Yeah.
You're in control.
Yeah.
The moment stuff starts going chaotic, you go, ah!
Yeah.
And then it gets worse and worse and worse, and it builds up and begins to explode and becomes anger. And then you'd start throwing things and smacking people, and
Yeah.
because you're because
Hey, some people need a smacking. I'm just
you
saying they never
got
got
to.
smacked.
Hey, it's happened more than once.
Right, right.
Right. those drive-by slappings, I'll
Yeah.
tell you, that's some wicked shit.
Oh, I gotta
So
say, growing up, once I got spanked, I knew not to get caught again, you know?
I'll tell you, there's always somebody tougher,
Yeah, exactly. You never
or he's got a gun.
know. Right. Yeah. Worst case scenario.
um, but so that's where you really have to start putting your ego down.
Yeah.
And so that was part of it. That was one layer. Okay, that was one layer that was ridiculous and superficial and whatever, but it was honest. It was there. It was real. I'm thinking like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my position as the alpha, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then it came to my personal awareness, my self awareness, my ego.
Mhm.
I said, well, am I really all that? Am I as good as I think I am?
Yeah.
Am I falsely thinking that I am better than I am?
Mhm.
Am I enough? Am I capable? Am I going to be proven less capable than I truly am? So these thoughts are going through my mind, and it's becoming frustrating. And that frustration came out in this jealous rage. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't, I wasn't threatening in any way, but it was just this bile that was spitting and spewing out of my mouth. I thought, oh Lord, uh, where is this coming from? I just didn't recognize it at all. So then I began to examine it, and things in the past began to come up, and potential for the future. And is this do I love her enough to allow her to take that position and that role? Would I
Right.
be okay with her being better than I was at a particular uh, endeavor?
Yeah.
And I began to recognize that all of that is ego. I'm looking internally instead of externally. I should have been praising her and encouraging her and warming her heart and teaching her everything I knew so that when she surpassed me, I could take credit for it.
Yeah.
Get right back to
There
my
it is
ego.
again. Yeah. Yeah. But it's so interesting that you say that too, because they say that the only person that ever wants to see, well, only man that ever wants to see you do better than themselves is your father. And I think that that is really interesting because when I first heard that, it almost it sent me into such a weird headspace because I've always wanted the people around me to do so well. I've always wanted to lift them up and just watch them go. And maybe the egotistical side of that was me saying, I got them off the street or I got them out of drugs. But there's something to be of service. And I don't know if that's ego or not. Maybe I should ask. But there's something that internally, like helping people, that gives me, like, I do want everybody around me to succeed at such a high level. And I don't know if it's for the praise, I don't know if it's for the love, but I like to treat other human beings how I would want to be treated. And I guess that's the kind of love that I show in the world. And maybe it's just in hopes to get that in return, which I may or may not. But I always thought that was interesting when I heard that. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the only man that wants you to do better than themselves is your father.
Well, that's a pretty broad umbrella,
Yeah.
and recognizing who you are, Alexander, you are very much a fatherly type. You were so with your sisters, everybody in your family. You always had that beautifully deep felt benevolence in you and that desire to see people around you succeed and happy. and comfortable, and that's what makes you who you are. So there is, and when you recognize that in yourself, that is sort of the flip side of ego. Not all ego is bad, because it is a recognition of self. And when we recognize that, the flip side of the ego coin, and we can truly and honestly say, I know who I am. I have a deep burning desire. I have empathy for the world. I want people to do well. I want to pass on. I want a legacy. That is the nurturing side of the ego. That's the side of the ego that recognizes that you are that tender, loving, kind person. Primally, at a primal sense, at our core, innately, we all want to be loved, understood, and appreciated.
Yeah.
So when we give that right off the bat, if we give someone that, if we decide, 'cause everything's a decision, including love. Well, sometimes we're victims of love.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also a decision. When something is going badly in a relationship, you can either begin to look for reasons to support your preconceived idea that relationships don't work. Therefore, you will manifest precisely that.
Oh, yeah. I was in that for so long.
Oh, yeah, it's a dangerous downward spiral, and something most of us fall victim to.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we can decide to love that person, and therefore ask the question, so you can go on the quest, how do I find even more about this person that I truly, deeply love and appreciate and admire? Guess what happens? Subconscious goes on the quest to answer the question.
Beautiful. Yeah.
This works in reverse too. Like when you're putting yourself down,
Yeah.
you say, why am I such a friggin' idiot?
Yeah.
You just asked your subconscious to answer that question.
Yeah.
And it will, because it's your best friend. It'll say, well, you're such an idiot because you don't think about that. You screw this up. You never finish. You got your ego in the way, and you go, oh, okay, that's why I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And you accept it, because the subconscious has answered. It gave you what you wanted.
Yeah.
You just manifested it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely have taken so many things in life, whether they be traumatic or whatever. You know, I was single for so long, and then I got so sick for such a long time, and had to rebuild who I was and as an individual. And I just, from that point on, I was like, well, I'm just not capable of being loved. And I would tell myself that all the time, just not capable. And I'm still in awe with my current girlfriend. I ask her all the time, like, you know, how do you love me? Like, this is crazy. It's really a wild thing, you know, because I've ran that through my head for so long. And I do approach our relationship with curiosity and ask her in specific moments, if she's sick, how do you like to be cared for when you're sick? Do you need space? Do you need me to smother you? Do you need food? Do you need, like, how can I love you in certain situations? Because I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, you know? So it's that curiosity, I think. And, you know, it's going to be different in so many different situations, but I just hope that anybody that's out there that, you know, if you're a single individual and you're thinking that you're not capable of being loved, try and rewrite that narrative. What about you is lovable, and how can you make yourself better? How can you either take on something in your life that is going to make you a better individual and capable of loving yourself and having that good internal dialogue, whether it be something as simple as taking one step every single day towards you being more lovable to yourself. You know, maybe the clutter in your house is giving you anxiety, which makes it hard to go to work and have a smile on for people, because you know when you get home there's so much to do, and it bogs you down. And if you take that first step, make your bed in the morning. You don't have to change everything about your life, but take one step each day and continue to make that a routine. Eventually you can tell and believe in yourself when you say that you do love yourself. And this is an uphill battle. I'm still there,
Oh,
right? It's lifelong, I'm sure.
guilty as charged.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And yes. And my dad used to say, hoe the short rows.
Break that down for me.
The clutter in your house is one thing. The clutter in your mind is something else.
Mm.
Just like the home, nibble away at it a little bit at a time. You know, if the dishes are stacked up, don't look at all the dishes. Look at one plate. Clean one plate.
Yes.
One at a time. Hoe the short rows.
Mm.
You're not going to clean it all at once.
Yeah.
You're not going to clean all this clutter all at once. Take one thing that's at the top of the list. What keeps coming up? What keeps bubbling to the surface? What emotion? What negative concept? What idea? What self-deprecating conversation or comment keeps popping into your mind? Like, why, who the heck would love me? And why? You know,
Yeah.
Start turning that around and saying, well, let me think about that. What is it that I love about myself? What are my, the things that I can be proud of in a righteous pride? What is it about me that I what do I do well? And actually write those things down. As a matter of fact, here's another tool for everybody. Think about all of the things that you admire about yourself, list them on paper, and record them in a voice recording on your phone, and go to bed with your headphones on listening to that, listening to your own voice.
Mm.
Those are true affirmations. That's not, oh, I'm, king of the world, or no, because your subconscious is going to go, bullshit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, buddy.
Yeah. But if you honestly seek that inside you, which is meritorious and admirable, and you find it, write it down and speak it to yourself, and then listen to it frequently with your headphones on at night, or your earbud, or even your phone, whatever. And you will begin to find more, and that will give you the idea, concept, and expectation that someone else is going to recognize those and love you for it. And then you will deserve love, because we all deserve love. Some of us don't think so. I'm not enough. I'm undeserving. Who could love a guy like me?
Right. Right.
We do that. And that's that self-deprecating thing.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I do want to take a moment. We do have some sponsors of the show. So we're going to go ahead and run a quick ad read here for our sponsors. Give me just a moment. Thank you all for tuning in. And again, I appreciate you being on the show here, Uncle Jeff. This has been super enlightening. And I just love this stuff. This is what it's all about. This is the good stuff. So let me go ahead and let's show some love to our sponsors here. Give me just a moment. And I'm going to play this advertisement for the first time. There's a pre-recorded advertisement. Let's see if we can get it going. This episode of People Helping People Live is sponsored by T-Town Boxing, Tucson's home for boxing, kickboxing, and recovery classes for all ages. T-Town Boxing isn't just a gym. It's a community where you can build confidence, discipline, lifelong skills, whether you're stepping into the ring for the first time or sharpening your techniques. From kids to adults, beginners to experienced fighters, T-Town Boxing offers a space to grow, train, and challenge yourself. So, if you're ready to push your limits and join an amazing community, reach out to T-Town Boxing on Instagram at Instagram.com/T-Town Boxing or their website, boxingtucson.com. Again, Instagram.com/T-Town Boxing or their website, boxingtucson.com. Back to the show. All right. Thank you, T-Town Boxing, for sponsoring People Helping People. That is such an amazing gym. I love those guys. And Jake over there, he is really an incredible trainer. He's training Golden Glove boxers left and right. And we do have one more sponsor for you guys. This is my buddy Ari's company, and he is really doing God's work out there. It's called Cars for Tucson. He's giving away cars to people that are underprivileged and need transportation. So one car repair can create a powerful ripple effect. For a low-income family struggling with housing, a reliable vehicle means they can hold on to their job, access childcare, and avoid spiraling into homelessness. Cars for Tucson understands this. They exist to provide affordable, sometimes free, critical car repairs to ensure these families stay connected to their livelihoods and their homes. They also want to give out cars for free to people that need them. That's carsfortucson.org. Be a part of this positive ripple effect. Your donations help prevent homelessness one car or one repair at a time. Visit carsfortucson.org to learn more and give today. Again, that's carsfortucson.org. Thanks so much for being a sponsor of the show. We love you guys. And back with Jeffery Van De Veere.
That is a beautiful benevolence, and Cars for Tucson. I love you guys. Isn't that amazing? That's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll put that in the next ad read. I like that. Yeah, but it's something about having this show, and it seems as though after every single live stream that we have with the audience that we have, I mean, they are such incredible people that are joining us every day. And after every single show, somebody reaches out to me. Somebody reaches out to me with either a nonprofit or something amazing. I just got off the phone with somebody who does a summer camp for children with type 1 diabetes. They want me to come talk at their show. I mean, there's just or at their camp, maybe be a camp counselor, but it's just really incredible the ripple effect that this show is having. And I want to thank everybody who's been joining us and tuning in and reaching out and leaving us comments. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude, and I'm just so thankful. I can't say it enough. And so thank you all for being here. Really appreciate you. And I want to ask, before we go, Uncle Jeff, I really appreciate the topics that you brought up today, and we could just sit here and talk for hours. I mean, just go on tangents about life, love, wisdom, strife, you name it. And, I really appreciate you being on the show, but is there anything that you want to leave with the audience before we take off here today?
Well, let's take a real quick review. You're on the threshold of wisdom when you have successfully replaced ego with curiosity.
Mm.
Treat everyone as if their heart is breaking, and you'll be right 90% of the time. And ask yourself provocative questions, the answer to which will expand your wisdom, your skill, your tenderness, your kindness, and your love.
Mm.
And always include, how can I even better or even more? Because that instills in you the idea that you are already on the move doing that very thing.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And that is for you. Thanks for completing another amazing episode of People Helping People. And if people wanted to reach you, how could they do so?
Well, a couple of ways to do it. My email is simply my name, Jeff Van De Veere @yahoo.com. And if you like, you can call me. I have no objection to that whatsoever. Text is probably better because I'm not going to answer the first call if I don't recognize the number. It's going to go to voicemail because I get all kinds of junk. And that number is 714 655 7365.
Beautiful. And if people were to reach out to you, what would you be providing?
I am a coach. I am NLP. I am a hypnotherapist, counselor, and I know a little bit about construction too, but don't ask me about construction.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. And we look forward to the next one. So if anybody has any questions for Jeffery Van De Veere, just go back and listen. There's a few ways to get in contact with him. And we appreciate you being a part of the community. And I love you.
Love you, Alexander.
Thanks so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you all got some wisdom, some nuggets out of that. I know I sure did. And something that's so fun with Jeff on the show is kind of looking in the mirror, right? Looking in the mirror and seeing, diving deep into what is, gosh, I mean, let me rephrase what I'm saying here. Being able to have open-ended conversations about things that a lot of people may or may not understand, like your own ego, is such an important part of life, and finding control in your purpose, control in your passions, control in your trajectory of where you're going in life. And it's not necessarily about taking control of those things, but understanding that it is a part of the bigger picture. So when we sit here and we discuss these things, I am looking internally at myself of all these moments in life where I can use work. We can all use work. And so if there's anything that you've taken from this episode, I would say just start recognizing your thoughts. Recognize and be curious. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Jeff, I appreciate you so much for bringing that to my attention and to my audience attention. Just be curious. Ask yourself questions and rewire your brain to be open-ended. Don't close the door. Your thoughts are not final, and you can change anything in your life in a positive way if you allow yourself and be curious enough to do so. So again, I want to thank everybody for being a part of this live stream. I truly appreciate all of you. And if you step over to the Instagram, it's instagram.com/people helping people live. On YouTube, we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, youtube.com/people helping people live. And again, this is my favorite type of content. I've never done anything in my life I've felt this passionate about, and it's all thanks to you guys supporting. So thank you so much. And let's go ahead and run this outro. Give me 1 second here. I'm still figuring out how to make this smooth and sweet for y'all. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Everybody, have a beautiful evening. This is day 3 of 30 People Helping People Live, and I hope y'all have a great night. Take care.
Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.